What's up everyone, and welcome back to KO News. In this video, we're diving headfirst into some of the most controversial stories rocking the MMA world. Everything from shocking backstage rumors to the relentless callouts that have fans buzzing. If you're ready for raw drama, surprising twists, and a full tour of the UFC's most heated headlines, then stick around. And hey, go ahead and give this video a like right now if you're ready for the details no one else is telling you. Lately, there's been a wave of discontent simmering beneath the surface of the MMA community. Plenty of longtime followers and even some die-hard fans feel as though the UFC has been churning out so many events that it's starting to lose the star power that once made it untouchable. From the earliest days of MMA, people flocked to pay-per-view cards because they promised to be stacked with elite names. Now, some are claiming that we see more "who's that" matchups than must-see headliners. While a busy schedule does mean constant entertainment, it also has fans worried that quality is being spread too thin. More fights sound great on paper until viewers shell out big bucks for a card that leaves them bored or frustrated. Nowhere was this more evident than UFC London, the event that had plenty of hype but ended up rubbing many fans the wrong way. You had those who braved the monstrous ticket prices, some dishing out well over 5 times what they would have paid a few years ago. They showed up expecting highlight reel knockouts or at least some dynamic grappling exchanges that would have them out of their seats. Instead, the majority of the fights dragged on to the judges' scorecards, sapping the energy from the arena. To make matters worse, the card was missing many of the region's biggest attractions. No surging hometown heroes, no massive draws that lit social media on fire. Critics argued that the UFC is coasting on its powerful branding, offering less bang for more bucks, and one quote keeps popping up among disillusioned fans: "They're turning into everything we hate about boxing." That's a tough condemnation. And it raises the question, has the thirst for continual events overshadowed the importance of building stacked cards? And while talk of oversaturation spread like wildfire on social media, a parallel controversy flared up around one of the UFC's most iconic figures, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. After an unexpected loss to Islam Makhachev that many felt he just wasn't himself for, Oliveira has been on a mission to reassert his place at the top of the lightweight division. He's not just calling for a rematch, he's practically demanding it, reminding everyone that he still holds the record for the most submissions in UFC history. To back up his words, he's pointing to the fact that he's been around the promotion for 15 years, collecting performance bonuses and breaking finishing records left and right. In his eyes, there's no question he's the top contender. That might be persuasive enough if it weren't for the fact that multiple other fighters are knocking on the same championship door. Ilia Tapuria recently left everyone guessing when he decided to move up a division, vacating his featherweight throne. Speculation quickly soared. Is Tapuria determined to chase bigger paydays and more legacy-defining bouts against top-ranked lightweights? Or is he trying to avoid a certain rematch that fans have been clamoring for? Paddy Pimblett is among those who believe Tapuria is ducking a second fight with Alexander Volkanovski, arguing that Ilia got lucky the first time around because Volk was too worn down from a previous war. As far as rumors go, it's explosive. If Tapuria truly feared a fresh version of Volkanovski, it might suggest he thinks his victory was more lightning in a bottle than repeatable. But then again, maybe he's just chasing greatness at 155. If that's the truth, you have to wonder, would Islam Makhachev be any less of a threat than Volkanovski? Charles Oliveira, meanwhile, seems laser-focused on proving the critics wrong, and he's been relentless in his social media posts, practically calling out Makhachev by name. Some fans are on Oliveira's side saying he's the rightful next challenger. Others think Justin Gaethje, Arman Tsarukyan, or any new blood might deserve the next shot. As for the champion himself, Makhachev has suggested he's not overly keen on fighting Tapuria, having already beaten Volkanovski twice and perhaps seeing the new arrival as a lesser draw. That little comment has kept the rumor mill churning, with plenty of fans accusing Makhachev of avoiding fresh matchups that might test his reign. With all the speculation swirling, it's no surprise that tempers have flared. Everyone wants a piece of that gold, yet booking the next big fight feels more complicated than ever. Speaking of complex title pictures, the light heavyweight division has turned into a jigsaw puzzle. Procházka remains one of the most fascinating figures at 205, with his samurai philosophy and exhilarating style, but he's had to bounce back from significant injuries and upsets. On the other side of the octagon, you have Magomed Ankalaev, who seems eager to dismiss certain contenders with a few keystrokes on social media. When Procházka caught wind of these posts, he didn't hold back, calling Ankalaev's online taunts the work of someone else entirely and labeling him a fraud champion. If that wasn't enough, Alex Pereira lurks in the background, rumored to be dealing with injuries, possibly even fighting with a broken hand, yet still prepared to jump back into a high-stakes rematch with Ankalaev. The real question is whether the UFC decides to fast-track any of these showdowns to unify the division's top dogs or makes them battle it out in an unpredictable gauntlet. Adding to the theatrical swirl is Carlos Ulberg, who soared through his last performance. Some fans are already clamoring for a Procházka versus Ulberg showdown to determine who lines up next for a title shot. On the flip side, certain insiders argued that a direct path to Magomed Ankalaev versus Pereira 2 is the bigger money fight, especially if rumor is true that Pereira fought the first time while battling a gnarly virus. The UFC loves a good redemption arc, and a revenge fight storyline could draw massive attention. Meanwhile, the rest of the contenders at 205 remain in limbo, itching to see how the chips fall. Then there's the welterweight division, where shocking twists never seem to end. Longtime fans watched Leon Edwards rise from underdog to champion, only to see him lose the belt in brutal fashion. After another crushing loss to rising star Sean Brady, rumors began swirling that Edwards is so drained from cutting weight that he might finally step up to middleweight. Some have expressed skepticism, saying he's simply making excuses for subpar performances, especially after blaming the time zone and late-night fights for his defeat to Belal Muhammad. Others note that fighters in this modern era are more conscious than ever about longevity. So maybe a shift to 185 is a strategic move that could revitalize his career. But one man who isn't shying away from a challenge is Michael "Venom" Page. He's openly calling for matchups against top-tier welterweights and making it crystal clear he'd love to smack around Colby Covington. Covington, who once danced near the top of the welterweight ladder, has fallen down the rankings and might see a flashy showdown with Page as a chance to reclaim some spotlight. Still, it's uncertain whether the UFC will sign off on that particular fight. Some question if a single victory over a surging middleweight is enough to justify a welterweight booking for Page, but no one can deny that it would be an instant fan magnet. The trash talk alone could set the stage for an unforgettable build-up. Interestingly enough, you've got to wonder how the heavy talk of politics and fighter pay might influence the UFC's next moves. With more and more fighters complaining about compensation or feeling undervalued, it wouldn't be surprising if more big names started fielding offers from rival organizations in search of bigger paychecks and guaranteed title shots. Even if the UFC brand remains the pinnacle of mainstream MMA, the dreaded boxing effect is creeping in, where top contenders sidestep each other to chase bigger paydays, leaving fans starved for the matchups they truly want. This pattern doesn't just water down the product, it can also breed resentment among the hardcore crowd who feel that real competition is losing out to cold business decisions. And let's not forget the uneasy tension among fans over rumored doping controversies. While major doping scandals haven't made a big splash recently, some watchers claim that more thorough testing has led to increasingly safe fighting styles and fewer explosive finishes. Others respond that these changes protect fighters' health and make the competition fairer. Whichever side you fall on, it's another element fueling debates about the state of modern MMA. For better or worse, a subset of fans still longs for the days of fewer restrictions, raw aggression, and highlight reel chaos. All of this adds up to a UFC landscape in flux. The athletes, management, and fans alike are pushing for something: more excitement, more transparency, or, in the case of guys like Charles Oliveira, just more clarity. Are we looking at an era that's about to slump into a lull? Or is the sport reaching a point where it can pivot and rediscover its spark? Major fights could be on the horizon. Fights that jolt fans awake, generate monstrous pay-per-view buys, and remind everyone why MMA became so enormous in the first place. But you have to ask, is the UFC risking its very legacy? Some observers warn that if the promotion continues down this path, it may alienate both diehards and casual fans alike. It's not just about the stars, it's about ensuring each fight card feels dynamic and worth the hype. Blown-up ticket prices, recycled matchups, and the overshadowing presence of name value over genuine skill could corrode fans' trust in the long run. Others, more optimistic, say these stumbles are just growing pains, and the UFC will inevitably right the ship. Perhaps bigger fights are in the works behind the scenes that will dwarf today's controversies in the near future. Whatever happens, you can be sure that the loudest voices, fighters, media, or fans, won't stay quiet. Charles Oliveira will keep pressing for that belt until he either gets the fight or finds a new path. Ilia Tapuria might prove that he's not ducking anyone by taking on the scariest matchups at 155. Leon Edwards could shock us all by storming the middleweight ranks if he really moves up. And the light heavyweight division might be on the verge of delivering the most unpredictable set of title bouts in years. Even if there's chaos now, MMA thrives on chaos. There's a reason we keep coming back, event after event. So if you've got your own theories about the UFC's future, like whether Makhachev will accept Oliveira's callout, or if we'll see a Tapuria versus Volkanovski sequel that shakes up the featherweight division, let it all out. Could the promotion's increasing number of events doom it to mediocrity? Or will the big fights in the pipeline rekindle our love for this sport? That's it for today's deep dive into the controversies shaking MMA at every turn. If you made it this far, I appreciate you sticking around for the entire story. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you think about these rumored matchups, the oversaturation crisis, or the possibility of certain fighters ducking big challenges. I'd love to hear your take on whether the UFC is losing its luster or just setting the stage for a massive comeback. Also, don't forget to subscribe to KO News, turn on notifications so you never miss a video, and of course, drop a like if you haven't already done so. Your support means the world. Together, we'll keep uncovering the biggest bombshells and breaking down every controversy that emerges in the fight game. Stay tuned for more, and until next time, keep your eyes on the cage and your gloves up.